We've opened this transfer window by prioritising defenders, but in the cold light of day and looking at the makeup of our current squad, our midfield is down to the bare bones. As soon as our Premier League status was confirmed at the end of last season, I've looked at our squad with a clear head and a clear mind. And, in all honesty, by being completely ruthless, I think we've only got 4 midfield players that are good enough to play in the Tottenham Hotspur first team in the Premier League. And so, to me, the primary focus has to be on midfield recruitment. I'm going to cover that a bit later in the video, but first let's look at the overall picture of our squad and analyse our transfer strategy so far. However, if there's sections that you want to jump ahead to, there's timestamps in the description below. By the time Roberto De Zerbi had completed his 7-game rescue act, it was clear to me that the team needed improvement in 3 key areas. Number 1, more control and more quality in midfield. Number 2, more potency and more threat in attack. And number 3, more options for that problematic left wing position. One of the above looks like it's already being addressed, and I have mixed feelings on that, which I'm going to get into shortly. But of all the areas of the squad that needed serious reinforcement, I didn't think that defence was one of them. The ideal scenario for any Premier League squad is to have 2 very good players that cover every position. If you manage to get that right, and with the right manager, you'll almost certainly be competing at the top end of the table. Let's face it, where we should be every single year. We have the manager in place, so now it's up to the sporting and the technical department to make 2 players in every position a reality. And almost as soon as the season was over, it was widely reported that Andy Robertson and Marcos Senesi would be joining the club, making our defensive options look very strong already. Think about it. Pedro Porro and Jed Spence will cover right back, Andy Robertson and Destiny Udogie for left back, and then 4 very decent centre halves, Mickey van der Ven, Super Kevin Danzo, Marcos Senesi and the returning Luka Vuskovic. However, it looks as though we're on the cusp of signing John Paul van Hecke from Brighton for a fee of around 45 million quid, which seems a little bit steep to me considering no other clubs are in for him and he's entering the final year of his contract. Now don't get me wrong, Van Hecke is a very good player. He's a player that I'm a fan of. He's a good defender, he's aggressive, he's very comfortable with the ball and he offers a goal threat as well. And we know that De Zerbi likes him from their time at Brighton together where they were very successful. But in the context of the players already available to us, why are we going to go out and spend that sort of money on a player to cover a position we don't need cover for? And also bear in mind that we've still got Christian Romero and Radu Dragusin on the books, Ben Davis as well. So effectively, before any players are sold, we've got 8 first-team centre-halves in the squad. Now, obviously, it looks as though Dragusin and hopefully Romero will be moved on this summer. But my question would be is why are we focusing time, energy and a big bag of money on yet another centre-half when there's gaping holes in the team to be filled elsewhere? And in the case of Luka Vuskovic, it's just another roadblock on his pathway to the first team. So what's the point? Just doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me, I've got to be honest. What do you guys think about the signing of Van Hecke? Like I said, I think it's a bit of a strange one, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Very quickly, guys, we went past 1,000 subscribers last week, which for me is an amazing achievement. So thank you to everyone that subscribed. If you watch the channel and enjoy the content but haven't yet subscribed, please think about doing so, or even dropping a like, a comment, maybe all 3. Thank you. Like I said in the intro, the area of the team where we seriously need reinforcements is midfield, where we're not just light, we're almost non-existent. What appeared to be an extremely straightforward signing of João Palhinha has now turned into a bit of a circus, with the clause that would have allowed us to sign him for reasonable money now expired, and with Sporting Lisbon entering the race. That transfer is far from straightforward now, and with Sporting also entering the race, it's just going to push his price up in any negotiations with Bayern Munich. And so in light of this, for me, the sensible thing to do would be to quickly identify alternative targets, seeing as Yves Bissouma is absolutely hopeless and should be moved on this summer as well. But the only midfielders we've seen any real links to are all like number 10s or attacking midfielders. Morgan Gibbs-White, Hayden Hackney, now some guy from Como that plays number 10 as well. Now the best of those 3 I've just mentioned is clearly Morgan Gibbs-White, and look, he's a fabulous footballer and I'd love to have him at Spurs, but he plays in a position where we're actually fairly well covered. And for me, signing him should not be a priority this season. And also, I'm pretty sure that he signed a new contract with Forest last year, so getting him out of there is going to cost a hell of a lot of money. I mean, you're talking 70, 80 million quid. And that money surely should be allocated elsewhere. For the number 10 role where Gibbs-White is most effective, we already have James Maddison, which after a pre-season, he should be our starting number 10 next season. Backing him up is Conor Gallagher, who's also a fairly decent player. And then we've also got Xavi Simons. Fair enough, he's out for a few months, but when he does return, and if we sign Gibbs-White, we'll have 4 players competing for one position in the team. Where's the strategy? And if we are going to address that problem that we have in midfield of a lack of quality and a lack of players that can control the game, The players we need to sign are all going to cost north of about 60 or 70 million quid. Just to give you an example, the sort of players that I'll be looking to sign for that central midfield position would be Sandro Tonali or Tijani Reinders from Man City. Mateo Kovacic would be another good option. Leon Goretzka from Bayern Munich's available. If you really wanted to push the boat out, there's Nicolo Barella at Inter Milan, who's a really good number 8. And for the defensive midfield position, I'll be looking at players like Nico Gonzalez, Eduardo Camavinga from Real Madrid, Adam Walton, Ruben Neves, maybe even that guy Hillman from Sporting Lisbon, who's a really good sitting midfielder. But what I'm trying to say here is that if we want to be the club that we believe we should be in the market for and signing big players with big reputations and spending big money on them. And these sorts of players that can control the pace and the tempo of a game come at an absolute premium. All of the players that are considered the best of the modern era had this quality. You know, players like Pirlo, Busquets, Scholes, Xavi, Seedorf. We've already seen that Forest have put a £100 million price tag on Elliot Anderson, and clubs are interested at that price. So if or when he goes for that money, all of a sudden, defensive midfielders and their market value go through the fucking roof. And any club that receives offers for their defensive midfield players from a Premier League club are going to slap a 20 million premium straight on top. And so in my opinion, we should be absolutely breaking our neck to identify and sign those players as quickly as possible before the market goes absolutely mad. And you know the worst thing about it? If we do miss out on Palhinha, which is looking likely now, we're going to need 2 of those players. And both of those are going to cost you between 120 and 150 million quid. When you look at the midfielders that are currently in our squad, like I said earlier, I think there's only 4 of them that are good enough to play regular, top-level Premier League football. Number 1's Rodrigo Bentancur, who's injury-prone. Number 2's James Maddison, who's brilliant, but also injury-prone. Number 3's Conor Gallagher, who doesn't have the technical quality, but he offers something else. And the last one is Xavi Simons, who's out for 6 to 9 months with an ACL injury. And so again, like I said earlier, we're down to bare bones. Of the other midfielders in the squad, look, I love Archie Gray. I don't love Lucas Bergvall as much, but they're both promising young players. But for me, they should be going out on loan, getting regular football at slightly lesser clubs, you know, something like a Sunderland or an Everton, where they're going to play nearly every minute of every game, gain some valuable experience, and at the same time prove to us that they can come back and be a valuable player for Spurs. Pap Sarr is absolutely fucking hopeless, and I would have him out the door as quickly as possible. And so is Yves Bissouma. It's a shame about Bissouma because he came to the club with a big reputation and he does have some quality, but his attitude and his professionalism absolutely stink, and we need to get him out the door. As for that problematic left wing position, it looks as if we're on the cusp of signing Savinho, which, like I said earlier, is something I've got real mixed feelings about. Now, is Savinho better than our current options at left wing, Matisse Tell and Mikey Moore? Marginally, probably yes, but is he 60 million quid and 8 million quid a year in wages better? Absolutely not. And also, like I reported in a video I made a couple of months ago about our academy, I thought our transfer strategy had changed from investing in young players to buying Premier League ready, proven, established players. And to me, Savinho is still just that. He's a promising young player. He's not established. Yes, he's played in the Premier League. Yes, he's played in the Champions League. But what has he actually done? 1 goal and 2 assists in 24 Premier League appearances last season. 2 different spells out injured with the same thigh injury. He doesn't get in the Man City first 11 very often. He doesn't get in the Brazil squad. Just feels like a bit of a red flag to me, and I just think there's more proven, better targets we could have gone for. What about a player like Iliman Ndiaye from Everton? 32 appearances in the Premier League this season, no recorded injuries, 6 goals, 3 assists, equally as comfortable on the left or the right hand side, a real maverick, great, skillful with the ball, a player that the fans would absolutely love, reliable, an established international. We could get him for the same money as Savinho, maybe a bit less, wages might be a bit less. Bit of a no-brainer for me. And annoyingly, don't be surprised if he lights up the early stages of the World Cup, because he is a real flair player. And he plays in a decent international team that could do fairly well at this World Cup. And so his value is going to go through the roof. If we're going to target Man City wingers, why not target Savinho's teammate, Omar Marmoush? A much more experienced player, more of a goal threat with lightning pace, able to play through the middle of the attack as well. Or maybe we'll go for the cheaper option and some experience in Jack Grealish. We could get him for absolute peanuts in relative terms, probably around the 15 or 20 million pound mark. We wouldn't have to pay him crazy wages because his performances over the last couple of years just don't justify it. And I think he's probably still got 2 or 3 good years in him in the right environment. And he's a player that would add quality, control, and creativity to the team. And he's also one of those players that could become a hero, a player that the fans could really get behind. He has had his fair share of injuries over the last couple of years, and that would be a concern. But for the sort of money you're going to lay out for him, he's definitely worth a punt. How about taking a slightly different approach and going for Kang In Lee from PSG? Yes, he's predominantly a right winger or a floating number 10, but he's a player of extreme quality, of extreme class. He scores goals, he creates goals, he works hard for the team. I mean, to even get on the bench in that PSG team is an achievement. And there's no reason that if we brought Kang In Lee in, for the time being, we could put Kudus out to the left-hand side to give options out there, and then those two guys could rotate and float around just like they do at PSG. Matisse Tell, Mikey Moore, hopefully Kulusevski could then provide the competition / the backup, and all of a sudden you've got good options in your forward line. A player that I've always liked is Karu Matoma at Brighton. I mean, it would take a lot of money to get him out of there because Brighton, we know, charge a king's ransom for all their players. But he's worked with and played really well under De Zerbi before, and he'd be a perfect option for that left-hand side. The only problem with him, again, is that he has had injury problems over the last couple of years. Now, if we sign Savinho and one other of those players, that would make a lot more sense to me, but we're going to have to see what happens over the next few weeks. What do you guys think about the Savinho transfer? You happy with it? I'm kind of, but we'll see. And also, and I feel slightly worryingly, last couple of days there's been some reports that we might be looking to move Matisse Tell on, either on loan or in a permanent transfer. Now look, he's not the best player in the world, but why again are we weakening ourselves in an area of the squad where we don't have much depth whatsoever? Like I said, he's not an amazing player, but he does have potential. He's a good young player. And I feel like with his performances at the back end of last season for De Zerbi, I feel like he's earned a place in our squad for next season. As for the strikers, well, that's a really difficult one, and I'm still trying to figure out who I think would suit us best. That will be the topic of my next video. But very quickly, there have been some rumours of Vlahovic from Juventus, but I've seen this guy play a few times and he looks like an absolute fucking donkey to me. I would steer well clear of that one. And in summary, going back to the original question, what is the strategy here? From what I've tried to demonstrate and what it will cost to upgrade our midfield, is it really worth stacking the squad full of defenders and spending a large portion of our budget on that already before we address the more obvious problems in the squad? I guess we just have to trust that Roberto De Zerbi is heavily involved in this recruitment process, because if it's left to Johan Klanger in the gang, there could be trouble ahead. Thanks for watching.